Max Baer Jr. was born Maximilian Adalbert Baer Jr. on February 4, 1937, in Oakland, California, into a family already steeped in legend. His father, Max Baer Sr., was the world heavyweight boxing champion from 1934 to 1935, a man famous not only for his incredible skill in the ring, but also for his charismatic personality and sometimes controversial behavior outside of it. Growing up under the shadow of such a towering figure shaped Max Jr.'s life in profound ways. From an early age, he learned both the pressures of living up to a name that carried weight and the ways that fame could open doors, while also creating challenges. Athletic and handsome, Max Jr. seemed destined for attention, but he did not follow in his father's footsteps as a boxer. Instead, he pursued a different form of performance: acting. He attended Santa Clara University, where he studied philosophy, showing an early interest in thinking deeply about life, meaning, and the human experience. While there, he also excelled in sports such as golf and amateur boxing, but his heart had already turned toward the entertainment industry. Hollywood in the late 1950s was a place hungry for young, charismatic talent, and Max Baer Jr. fit the mold perfectly. He had the charm, presence, and confidence that made casting directors take notice. He started his acting career with small but steady roles on television shows like 77 Sunset Strip, Hawaiian Eye, and Cheyenne, gradually learning the craft and honing his screen presence. These early roles gave him experience and helped him understand how to navigate the demanding and unpredictable world of Hollywood. Then, in 1962, his life changed in a way that would define his career and in some ways complicate it. He was cast as Jethro Bodine on the Beverly Hillbillies, a comedy series that became one of the most popular shows in American television history. The show revolved around a rural family that suddenly becomes wealthy and moves to Beverly Hills, bringing with them a charming mix of naivety, humor, and unrefined wisdom. Jethro Bodine, played by Max Baer Jr., was the lovable, dim-witted nephew whose exaggerated swagger, physical comedy, and malapropisms made him unforgettable. From the very first episode, audiences were captivated by his performance. His timing was impeccable, his physicality natural, and his comedic instincts sharp. Max brought something unique to Jethro, a blend of innocence, confidence, and naive charm that made the character more than just a stereotype. The Beverly Hillbillies quickly became a cultural phenomenon. At its peak, it was the #1 television program in America, watched by tens of millions each week. Max Baer Jr.'s role was central to the show's appeal, and his performance was praised for turning what could have been a one-dimensional character into someone audiences genuinely cared about. Children, teenagers, and adults alike found Jethro endearing and memorable. Yet, as with many actors who play iconic roles, the very success of Jethro Bodine became a double-edged sword. While the character brought Max fame and financial stability, it also created the challenge of typecasting. Casting directors and producers began to see him only as Jethro. They doubted his ability to play serious or dramatically different roles, fearing that audiences could never separate the actor from the beloved character. This created tension for Max, who had ambitions to explore more serious, nuanced performances. He wanted to be seen as a versatile actor, capable of drama, comedy, and everything in between, but Hollywood was not always willing to give him that opportunity. The show lasted 9 seasons, ending in 1971, and during those years, Max Baer Jr. became a household name. He experienced all the highs of fame: public recognition, magazine covers, interviews, and the adoration of fans. At the same time, he also learned the difficulties that come with such visibility. Being constantly associated with a single character meant that people often overlooked his talent and ambition beyond Jethro Bodine. But rather than becoming bitter or discouraged, Max adapted. He recognized that while Hollywood might limit him, he could reinvent himself in other ways. He began exploring opportunities behind the camera, demonstrating both creativity and business acumen. By founding his own production company in the 1970s, he turned challenges into opportunities, producing films that allowed him to control his own projects and expand his skill set. This period of transition revealed Max Baer Jr. not just as an actor, but as a visionary willing to take risks. His first major success as a filmmaker came with the 1974 film Macon County Line, a low-budget exploitation film that, against expectations, became a box office hit. This demonstrated his instincts for storytelling and audience appeal, showing that he could succeed outside the world of sitcoms and television fame. Max then went on to produce, write, and direct other projects, including The Wild McCullochs and Ode to Billy Joe, each allowing him to explore darker, more complex themes and characters. These ventures proved that he was more than a comic actor. He was a multifaceted creative force, capable of navigating the worlds of acting, directing, and producing. Behind the success, however, lay a clear motivation. Max wanted to take control of his career and legacy, ensuring that he was recognized for his talent and vision, not just for a single character that had defined him for nearly a decade. This determination to reinvent himself demonstrated both resilience and ambition, qualities that would continue to define his life in the years to come. Even as he transitioned into filmmaking, Max maintained a connection to the show that made him famous, understanding that the Beverly Hillbillies was not only a stepping stone, but also an enduring cultural icon. Over time, he would attempt to expand on that legacy through entrepreneurial ventures, including themed attractions and legal efforts to protect his rights to the characters and brand. Max Baer Jr.'s early life and rise to fame reveal a man shaped by legacy, talent, and determination. He was born into a world of expectation, became a beloved television star, and then faced the challenge of proving that he could be more than Jethro Bodine. These formative experiences would prepare him for the next chapters of his life, where he would continue to innovate, defend his creative vision, and ultimately reflect on the people and experiences that defined his career, including co-stars like Nancy Kulp, whose presence on set left a lasting impression and would later become part of the stories he shared publicly. After the Beverly Hillbillies ended in 1971, Max Baer Jr. faced a challenge that has tested countless actors in Hollywood, escaping the shadow of an iconic role. For nearly a decade, he had been Jethro Bodine to millions of viewers, and while that brought fame and recognition, it also created an invisible barrier. Directors and producers struggled to see him as anyone else, and Max quickly realized that he needed to take his career into his own hands if he wanted to grow as a creative professional. Instead of becoming frustrated or leaving Hollywood, he chose a path that would allow him to reinvent himself and explore new avenues for storytelling. Max founded his own production company, a bold move that reflected his ambition and desire for creative control. This step allowed him to move beyond acting and take on roles as a producer, writer, and director. By creating his own projects, he was no longer bound by the limitations imposed by others. He could craft the stories he wanted to tell, explore complex characters, and experiment with genres that Hollywood might not have given him permission to pursue. One of his earliest successes in this new phase was Macon County Line in 1974, a low-budget exploitation film inspired by true events. Despite its modest budget, the film became a surprise box office hit, earning millions of dollars and cementing Max's reputation as a savvy independent filmmaker. The success of this film was more than financial. It proved that Max had a keen sense for storytelling and could create content that resonated with audiences beyond the small screen. It also demonstrated that his talent extended far beyond the comedic character that had defined his early career. Building on this momentum, Max took even more ambitious steps. In 1975, he produced, wrote, and directed The Wild McCullochs, a gritty Southern drama that allowed him to step into the story itself, as an actor portraying the complex character of Culver Robinson. This role gave him the chance to explore emotional depth and darker themes, proving to critics and audiences alike that he was capable of far more than the lovable, bumbling Jethro. Max's work during this period reflected not only ambition, but also courage. He was willing to risk financial uncertainty and critical judgment to assert control over his career and artistic identity. The films he produced and directed showed that he had a strong creative vision and a willingness to challenge both himself and the expectations of the industry. Perhaps his most notable achievement in this era came in 1976 with Ode to Billie Joe, an adaptation of Bobby Gentry's haunting hit song. This project was significant because it blended artistry with commercial appeal, achieving both critical recognition and financial success. Max's ability to identify stories that could connect with audiences demonstrated his skill as both a filmmaker and a businessman. Ode to Billie Joe also marked a turning point in his career, solidifying his credibility as a serious director and storyteller. While he would direct only one more film, 1979's Hometown USA, the impact of these projects went beyond the screen. They represented Max's determination to redefine himself and his career, proving that he was not limited to the character that had made him famous. At the same time, Max's entrepreneurial instincts began to flourish. Recognizing the enduring popularity of the Beverly Hillbillies, he envisioned ways to expand the franchise into a broader cultural and business phenomenon. This included ideas for attractions such as recreations of Jethro's Beverly Hills mansion, themed casinos, and other ventures that could transform the television series into a living brand. In pursuing these goals, Max demonstrated a rare combination of creativity and business savvy. He understood both storytelling and marketing, and he knew how to leverage his personal connection to an iconic property in ways that could generate profit and preserve his legacy. Securing the rights to use the characters and branding from the show was a key step in this strategy, giving him control over how the intellectual property was used and ensuring that he could protect the value of his association with the Beverly Hillbillies. These ventures also reflected his long-term vision. Max was not merely looking for a quick financial gain. He was building a sustainable brand that honored the cultural impact of the series, while also allowing him to explore business opportunities that aligned with his creative sensibilities. Beyond business, Max's post-Hillbillies career illustrates a larger lesson about resilience and reinvention. He faced the challenge of typecasting head-on, choosing to carve a new path rather than let the industry define him. He expanded his skills, took calculated risks, and demonstrated that success can be multifaceted. While fame in front of the camera was important, Max understood that influence, creativity, and financial independence could also be achieved behind the scenes. At the same time, he remained connected to the show that had made him famous. Despite the difficulties posed by typecasting, he recognized the joy and cultural significance the Beverly Hillbillies brought to audiences. He understood that the character of Jethro Bodine, once a source of frustration, had become an enduring symbol of television history. Over time, his perspective on the show softened, and he came to see it not as a limitation, but as a foundational part of his legacy.